Welcome back to Saga of Three Kings, session number 57, entitled Beautiful Benish. Last session, the group was traveling on the road, stopped at the lighthouse, met with a wizard friend of one Benson, received some horses, which happened to be horses of the King's Messenger system, Vermonia. They mounted up, rode, despite a little bit of the remnants of the stormy weather from the night before. They were basically undaunted in their wink, wink, nudge, nudge, hint, hint, shambles is an undaunted. Okay, so dumb joke. Moving back to the point, they make it to the town of Benish. When I say you make it to the town of Benish, let me explain. There's a fork in the road, and a sign dead set in the middle of it. The sign says to Benish, pointing towards the west, and pointing towards the south, it says the King's Road, continuing southwards. About 400 or so feet down the King's Road, you can see what appears to be very massive constructs that are kind of just sitting in place, pumping out steam, and there's a lot of lumber and a lot of laborer individuals around that area, and you can also see that there appear to be a lot of soldiery around that area. It looks like that the 400 feet or so mark is about where a waterway begins. And from what you can tell, the things that I just described are kind of on the other side of that waterway. A small river, if you will. The passageway that leads to the west, you can see what appears to be a pretty decent sized wall, some 50 feet high, that appears to be blocking a very massive city that's kind of down beneath you at this point. You are kind of up at a higher altitude, looking down on what appears to be probably the biggest town you've seen thus far in this game. Some of your characters have been around the world outside of this place, but it's a town that's bordering on a city. It's quite vast comparatively, and it looks like the northern gate would be where this road that leads to the west would lead to. Of course, choices are the best part of Dungeons and Dragons. Would you like to go left on the King's Road or right towards Benish?
You said it looked like a very military guarded construction area?
Correct.
Would we assume that that's the Iron Road, or?
It's a pretty safe assumption. You definitely are seeing things at this distance that look like towering constructs for the dorky 40k players in my midst. I'm talking the size of titans, like massive constructs that are kind of just sitting in like a state of repose and are kind of billowing off steam off of their backs, off of like steam chutes on their backs.
About 3 feet tall. Got it.
Yeah, about 3 feet tall in real life. Yep.
I'm Googling Titan.
They're a couple 100 feet tall.
Okay.
Yeah, they're huge.
Oh, that one's got a castle on its shoulders.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Smaller than that one.
I don't have any pressing matters in Benish. I don't have a dog in this fight. If you guys have a choice, of where
I
to
would
go.
personally think that we should head on to the capital, since we have been gifted these wonderful horses for that trip. I believe it would be best for us to not neglect the charity of the king and use his horses for the business at hand.
One. Fuck
As he
that
put
guy.
the hand.
Two. Don't you need to go to Bellum?
I thought we needed to go to the capital. That's where the mage was.
No, I gotta go to the capital. You're going to Bellum. I thought.
Shambles has business in Bellum.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I have to go. I have to go meet a guy
I got
about
it.
being a teacher.
I check my
Yeah.
notes.
I thought your stop was before mine, but okay.
No one technically has business in Benish, but it is right there, and it is a pretty decent-sized town.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds like we should go buy some magic items.
No.
I do vaguely have some business in Bellum.
Do your business. I mean, if you want to skip this city
Handle
town,
business on the road, not handling.
perfectly fine. What I'm going to explain to you is if you are saying that you want to continue with haste, and make your way towards the river, then we can do that. That's an option. I'm giving you two options. You don't have to
I'm
do
not
anything.
in a particular hurry if the rest of you are.
Okay. Grok?
I couldn't care either way either.
Yeah, I mean, Grok doesn't really care. After beating Calorith, he's like, I'm just so good right now. Just worrying about dragons flying around. That's what he's looking
Out
for.
here on holiday.
100%.
Known in this town.
Huh?
Grok's retired.
What is known in this town? Like, are there any things of note,
Sure.
or is it just a decent-sized town? Or...
You're a pretty knowledgeable individual, so you would know the following. So the town is ruled over by House Benish, or sorry, Benich, I-C-H. The town is Ish, and the ruling family is Ich. They are a proud ruling family who have strong alliances with the people of Saria, which is the province to the south of Osiria and Varhuin. They have a very strong trade that goes between them, and they also will tutor people who come from that land here. So there's a very long Sariugian culture inside of Benish. That would be the main thing you know. You would know that the main proprietor fighters guild is located in Benish. It's the renowned place for combatants, individual combat, team combat, and other styles of games regarding fighting. You would know that they had a bridge called the Padraig Bridge that was destroyed during the Civil War. It was a massive bridge, and it connected the lands kind of here to the land south of here, which made it a lot easier for transport between the northern areas of the region and Bellum. The Iron Road should replenish the speed that they had before, but it was very easy to just kind of cross over the waterways of Cloudy Lake's bottom kind of point of exit. There are a couple of pretty known holy sites, which would be kind of a point of interest for Brooklyn, except that they're outside of your religion. You would just know that they exist. The main one being the parish of the Even-Handed Judge, which is the biggest church of Atavius outside of the capital in Munio. It's a pretty big church. And there's also a place called the Sakellum of the Orrery, which hosts the Synod of the Inanos, I-N-A-N-I-S.
You wrote it.
I wrote
Made
it.
up.
I wrote it,
That's
but
the
it's
word he made up, right? Yeah.
it's Latin, and it means, the knowledgeable Benson would know, the void. Basically, the synod of the word that I said is a religious sect that focuses on the in-betweens, the spaces between here and the Dargian Rift and death. There is a known hero, Padraig Benich, who was the founder of the place, and he's kind of a big deal in the region, mainly because during the very early segments of the Civil War, it was he who formed Benish and created that bridge, making passageway easier, and created this kind of defensive bastion so people who were... the conglomerate took over, and the King of Fire took over Bellum during the Civil War, and Benish acted as kind of a bulwark against them moving into Munio proper, like further into the kingdom. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, sorry. The one last thing you would know is there is a monastery of the Huli Ruksui, which is a philosophy and religion from Seiru as well. You would know it's known as the Makoto Monastery, which is the monastery of honesty that is in the city, in the town.
Are there any known magic users that seem to be very knowledgeable that I know of here, or any good tea shops?
I might know a guy.
Wizardry, not so much, but you do know that there are the Merchant Lord estates, and one such Merchant Lord is a Merchant Lord named Seroth Amarnath. And Seroth is not only a dabbling wizard, but he is also a trafficker of fine teas from Seiru into the lands of.
Benson's good on going in here.
This sounds like the place.
Yep, that's the one.
All right. The others, of course, have to be swayed. Grok, you're still kind of wishy-washy. Rooklyn, any interesting things that I said or that Benson would have been reciting as you're kind of walking? As he...
If he wants to go in there, I'm down to go in there. I don't really...
Sure, I'll go in with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Shambles, do you want to fly ahead and check out the bridge situation and then catch up with them on the road? That way you can basically have your cake and eat it as well?
I mean, I'll take a peek.
Sure.
You guys aren't going to be bothered by it.
So what you would notice is that there was formerly a bridge, probably stone in structure, that seems to have been knocked out. So for anyone who was non-flying, it would have been impossible for you to make the King's Road trip anyways. There's a detour sign notice on your side of this riverway that says, please make your way through Benish across the Green Bridge for access to the King's Road South. And on the other side of the riverway, you would see that the soldiery are kind of taking notice of you, kind of moving over in your direction, moving towards the shore. You see their shields are up and their swords go up in the, basically, we see you, we acknowledge you kind of thing that happened in the Canyonway during the war.
I'll return the gesture and slowly, make a non-aggressive descent.
They salute and kind of allow you kind of landing, and they say, "Hail, strange one. Apologies about the King's Road, though it doesn't seem to impede your traffic. Can we assist you in any way?"
I have others who may be concerned in crossing in this manner.
Well, if they are unable to fly as you can, I would suggest that they make their way into the town of Benish, move south towards Greenbridge, and across into Southgate. They should be able to make their way back and around to the King's Road with no problem.
Very well. Forgive my prying. Is this construction of the Iron Road? I've heard
That is
tell of?
correct.
Oh, very charismatic fellow.
Well, I am one of the holy knights of the High Church, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
His
Well,
his blonde hair waves in the wind as she's talking to you.
Sure it does. Of course it does.
Of course.
Yeah. Hey,
Standard
keep up the
equip.
good work.
Standard equipment's a cloak of billowing. As a bonus action, he goes ahead and activates it. Of course. Thank you. Be on your way, citizen.
Hands on hips and
Yep.
looking at the sunset, no
Yep.
matter what time of day it is.
So looking down in the night.
Yeah.
The sun's down there. I know it.
Those where it's set.
He just goes to the horizon and waits for sunset or sunrise.
Nope.
Fair dues. If you head back to catch up with the others, you make it before, or make it to them before they make it to the gate. It's not too far a distance we're talking about here. The group moves up to the northern gate of Benish. You would see that the gate's portcullis is up. You would also notice that there appear to be 3 sub-doors inside. One appears to be wooden, and it appears to slide outwards to the side on a track that runs across the length of the door. Another sub-door appears to be 2 metal doors that look like they drop down from the top. One can be dropped individually, so it cuts off half of the doorway, or the passage. And the final door looks like it rises up from the ground, is drawn up with chains on the side, and that door looks like it is made out of gold or like a jeweler's brass.
You're talking about the northernmost door up here?
Correct.
Or gate, rather.
There are a couple of guards kind of standing by. It looks like they're wearing the colors of House Benish. It looks like the colors of House Benish appear to be a purple and kind of a bright yellow.
Any bills to me? Yeah, where are we headed? Benson, you said you had some individuals to speak to?
Yes, one of my friends is a traveling merchant of seller of tea that I would like to meet with for an afternoon of trying his new best.
Shambles, your passive perception's pretty good. So is yours, Grok. The two of you would actually see the dwarven merchant that you saw a couple of days ago, kind of standing around. Looks like he's wearing a different outfit than the last time you saw him, and it also looks like he's with a different group. Like he doesn't have the same people he was with.
Who is this?
The merchant that you traveled with to Banster.
Wasn't we escorted?
But
Okay.
you'd also kind of think for a sec, because your perception's so high. After he left Banster, he headed back north to Bluegate. So him being here is strange.
And he's dressed nicer than before.
He's dressed different. I would say, yeah, definitely it's a blow up, or a glow up rather than downgrade.
So is it actually him, or just like a really close cousin? Or
Yeah, so yeah.
I'd point him out
Brock
to
would say to
Raya.
Riot's
would say to
perception's
Shambles.
higher than yours.
Fine.
Is it
You weren't told.
I think Rock and I both have passive 20s.
20s? Yeah. He's either there's a teleportation circle or maybe it's the twin.
Is yours a passive 20 as well, Ryan?
Yeah, you just forgot it.
Mine's 17.
Yeah, mine's
Yeah.
way up there.
17 was what I was going for. I didn't know you had.
Mine's
Okay.
20.
I didn't know you took expertise in it. Okay, great. So yeah, you three would actually see it. And so, Grok, you kind of lean in and say, maybe it's not the same person. Is that
Or
right?
maybe there's teleportation circle. Yeah, it's either a twin maybe or I don't know.
Okay. If you kind of stare at him for a while, he kind of notices you staring at him for a while. But in that time that you're staring at him, all three of you kind of like light bulb moment go, yeah, he is different. It's subtle, but he is just slightly different than the gentleman you had dealt with up north.
His braid's on the left and not the right.
He then kind of nods his head at you and kind of like gives you like one of those hey kind of looks.
Hi.
If you gotta give him a wave, he kind of and then kind of
It's
goes
us.
and then kind of goes, oh, and then heads into the town like everyone else is doing.
The
Was-
O is like he recognizes us.
It's more of an acknowledgement
It's
of why.
happened before.
It's more of an
Oh,
acknowledgement
okay.
of why
yeah,
you
so
recognize
you,
him.
you saw right. You saw a twin. Yeah, got it.
The town guards don't accost you or anything. They seem to be just kind of ferreting people into the town. And there are a number of people who are kind of making their way into this town at about the same time you are, actually, which is strange because you didn't really see anybody on the road.
I mean, there's other roads, right?
Yeah, there are other places to go. You're not terribly sure what happens up northeast of here, like in this region. So they could be coming from there.
I'm following Benson. He seems like he knows where he wants to go.
All right. Does anybody want to stop and ask any questions of the town's guard? Or just heading on in blind?
All right.
Benson's in
Uh,
charge.
I don't think I do know anyone in Benish. I got the towns confused because they're both start with B's.
There's a lot of B names on the coast,
They-
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
there
if
are.
they're-
I was like, I'm thinking of Bellum. I don't know anybody here.
Bluegate, Banser, Benish, Bellum, yeah.
Well, Bluegate's easy
Yeesh.
enough because it's two real words.
If the town guards are friendly enough, Grok would ask if there's been any sightings of dragons.
Hail, turtle friend. Sightings of dragons? Oh no, there were some sightings of a black dragon near Blackheart Lake, but it was defeated in combat by the Comus Palatinus of the Iron Road. It wasn't defeated in total. The creature retreated back into the swamps towards Stonetooth.
So that word that you use, comus something or other, is that familiar?
Holy
to us?
Knights. Yeah, everyone would know the Comus Palatinus. They are the King's Guard. They are the most holy of knights.
And would I get the sense that that black dragon was the same black dragon that we faced with some of the other ones?
You don't
Other
know.
chromatic dragons. Is it common for there to be more than one type of dragon about? No, could there be multiple black dragons basically?
If a
in the
black
realm?
if a black dragon matriarch has children, yeah,
Okay.
she would keep them close to her. But if a black dragon who is very territorial and they're not familial, they'll try and push out other dragons, no matter if they are the same color or not, out of their territory.
Well, I do remember the swamplands was where it had its sort of home.
Correct. You don't know of the
Could be
place that he
different.
cited, Stonetooth. That's something he hasn't explained. Do you have a map?
I think I do have a map.
Okay. Do you say Stonetooth? Where's that?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll go ahead and mark it, and I will denote it on the map, which I will flip to in a second.
Excellent.
One moment.
Well, one less dragon is one better thing. Oh, Orbicus, that's the black dragon. Okay, he's the dragon mage. Ooh.
Joe Orbicus.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. So, remembering the name, Grok would say, "Do you mean the dragon Orbicus?"
Oh, I don't know what its name was, and I genuinely don't know too much about dragons, other than some of them are different colors, some of them seem to represent gems, some of them seem to represent metals, but I don't know much about it. I apologize. I'm just a lowly townsguard.
Thank you so much. I have a special interest in these dragons. Is there anyone in town who I can speak to that might tell me more?
I would say that the best place you'd probably find information of that kind would be the Association of Tall Marie.
Thank you. Can you direct me as to which portion of town to go into?
Absolutely. The association is located, and he would state the directions to get you to 6.
Cool, thanks.
Once you enter the courtyard, follow the main path that heads westward until you get to the next circle, then turn left. When you see a massive 3 buildings, that would be the association. Alright, anybody else have questions of the town guard, or moving about on your own freely, of course? Your choice.
I would be interested in moseying towards the area of 2, but for now I'm gonna follow Benson.
Okay. You'd ask about the Coliseum. Is that right?
Yeah.
They would say, well, the Fighters Guild's located at 2, and they would tell you what the specific address is. And the Coliseum, I believe, is preparing for a small tournament. Basically, preparation for the grand tournament in the capital.
You have a lot of. Would you happen to know? Are there many combatants who are signing on?
Not so much here in Benish. Most of the fighters are a bit wary because some of the best fighters from Seiryu have made their way, migrated up north to compete.
Very interesting.
It's said that Kenji Hattori himself is going to be present at the grand tournament, so many are interested in entering into these preliminary tournaments to make their passageway into that grand tournament.
Huh. This Hattori character, is he taking part in the...
Not here in
Hattori?
Benish. Kenji Hattori hasn't been around here for some time.
Of course.
But
Right.
his cousin still runs the wharfs.
Wharfs. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Kenji Otomo, who is the wharf master, and he says the wharf's at 10.
I'd be interested in meeting them. Thank you very much.
No problem. It's the point of purpose for the town guard to be very helpful for newcomers into the city.
It shows. I've encountered you folks speaking with my friend here, Grok, and couldn't be more pleased with how helpful you've all been.
Well, thank you. And you
Please
see
pass my gratitude on to your fellows.
one of his friends says, actually, he made an incorrect statement. We're not technically a city yet. Our population needs to increase by 200 people before it's technically a city by Osirian standards. And you can see the guy you were talking to go, I
Give
wasn't.
him a 5-star rating on the City Guard app.
I wasn't perfectly helpful. Damn
The
it.
city guard.
All right.
Hawkins guard.
Raya, Brooklyn, and Master Benson. Any specific questions you have of the town guard before moving from the town proper? And I'll go ahead and put your tokens on the map so you can have.
No,
kind
I'm good.
I would ask where my buddy was.
Serath Amarnath is located at 3.
Pretty close.
I'd say we're practically there. Benson, let's get you some tea or whatever the hell it was. That was a good start.
What do we?
Hold on, I'm pulling your tokens down. What did you say, Jeremy? You muted, Jeremy.
Completely silent, Jeremy. Bumped it.
Hello.
There it is.
Where do we stable our horses?
If you want to stable your horses, you can of course stable them here with the guard at the front gate. Riding is typically not allowed in smaller thoroughfares, so please do not escape the larger roads. There are stables at most of the proprieties. If you're planning on staying in Benish for the night, I would suggest, and you see the other town's guard kind of look at him, and he goes, right, and then kind of looks to you. I would suggest that you stay at the well-groomed Cavern Tavern and Inn.
How much to pay to say that?
Do I have an inkling of what the hell that was about?
The other gentleman kind of goes, when you say how much do they pay you to say that, he kind of like and turns aside like he's been caught in his bullshit.
You really recommend.
And the guy who you're talking says, yes, we really recommend it. And he then kind of looks at the other guard, who kind of turns away, and he says, they are paying us to say that. It is good, though.
Which exit is going to be closest to getting us back toward the capital?
If you're heading to the capital, you want to go past Green Bridge, which is, and he explains it's 18. It's a small town inside of a town. And it basically is that little island right there in the peninsula, or the delta there. And then head down to Southgate, which is number 19, which is another small town. But that's the exit out, and that leads back to the King's Gate.
Okay.
Or
And
King's
then,
Road.
being this close to just 200 away from the city, as you said, what's the public transportation like here?
Well, if you're trying to gain access to if you're trying to gain access to the capital from here, the Iron Road is technically up and running south of here.
Within the town's limits. If we were to stable our horses here, but then want to leave for the capital, we'd have to return all the way here for our horses.
Oh,
all the way through or around town.
No. You can pay a wayfarer who will transport your horses to the southern gate, so they're prepared for you if you're planning on leaving out of it. And you see this young lad's come over. Did someone say wayfarer?
The guard did.
Why, yes, young man.
It's 2 silver per horse, and I can make sure that they're wherever you need them to be. Are you heading to the docks, or are you heading towards the southern gate?
I imagine we'll be headed for the southern gate in the next day or so. I believe we have business. It's called Yes and, Jeremy.
It's only 2 silver a horse, and he looks around at the group, like smiling really big. Like, hell yeah, I'm about to get paid.
How many horses do we have? Like 5?
Oh yeah, that's 5 horses. That's a whole gold.
I'm near positive that Benson's horse could do this job himself.
Parade the other horses.
Yeah.
Feed them, stable them.
Well, you can ride your horses on the main thoroughfares all throughout the city. You just can't enter the smaller roads. So, like the white line kind of roads, those are fine. But if you start entering into like the gray roads, then you're breaking the law.
Yeah, I don't want to have to keep track of a horse all day. I don't know how long we're going to be here.
For
I'm
sure.
Give him a
cash
gold.
for-
Throw him a gold.
You throw him a single gold, and he says, "Oh my god, great! Oh wow!" And he looks over to Benson's horse. Is that really a Renin?
I pat the horse and say, "Well, it's only the best."
Amazing! You must be really important because you're not even an elf.
It was gifted to me from a friend, so
As he stares at the elf in the group.
You kind of see this look in his eye, Benson, like, you must be really important, which means you could probably pay him more than a gold kind of look. But he's not saying it outright.
Another gold. Take good care of the horses.
Wow! Awesome! Yeah, I'll take great care of them! And grins. And
That would have required an insight check that you didn't declare.
the kid will go ahead and take your horses if you want, and make his way with them to the south gate.
We are never going to see those horses again.
I don't know why I had a
will hunt
horse.
the kid down
I forgot I had a horse.
Oh, he hands you a small wooden chip. Benson, he would hand you a small wooden chip. The wooden chip has a horse head on it on both sides, kind of burned into the wooden chip. It's like a pog smasher.
I
Gonna pay.
put it in my pocket.
It's your
Perfect.
valet tag.
Effectively correct. All right. Past that point, you're free to go wherever you'd like. It sounded like Benson and Shambles were going to take a stop at 3.
Yeah,
I'm
my
following
guy's
Benson.
got business. I'll stick with him.
Sure. Okay.
Let the heavies go figure something. Well, I guess I'm technically one of the heavies. But let the other two heavies figure something out. Go on a
Grok,
little adventure.
do you have any interested place that you want to go to?
Yeah, I want to go to the Association of Tom and Marie.
Okay. And Ryan?
I'm with Benson.
Okay. And Brooklyn?
I'd like to go check out the Coliseum.
All right. So you're going to the Fighters Guild first. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Or are you just going to the Coliseum and skipping the Fighters Guild?
I mean, I can stop by. The Fighters Guild will be before the Coliseum, right?
Yeah, it's right before.
Yeah, then I'll stop at the Fighters Guild.
Technically, the guild is 2.
They're like associated
yeah,
buildings,
they are.
aren't they?
They are associated buildings. 2 is basically the office space where you would basically deal with the paperwork and bullshit, and then the Coliseum building is, you can see it on the map there. And I drank that old fashioned way too fast.
Oh boy! All right.
Let's do it, Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, great. We'll go ahead and deal with Benson, Raya, and Shambles first. So as you approach, heading outside of the main opening space, that circle there, that first circle way, is kind of like an open market. There are a number of people who are kind of just selling out of tents and vendor spaces. And all different types of folk seem to have made their way to Benish today. You've got folk who look like they come from the Westerlands of Osiria. So we're talking about Ignosians. We're talking about some folks even further west of Meridians. So some very pale-looking, dark-haired individuals, and some very, tan and able-bodied individuals as well, who appear to be selling their wares. There's also a pack of gnomes who appear to have set up a nice little tent of their own and are selling what appear to be very strange vegetation. But if you make your way through that, there is a large building on the north side of that circle, and it appears to be the Trades Commission building, and that would be this building here. But if you ignore all that, just kind of walk through the market space and head towards the Hamarnath estate.
I'm assuming a town this big has more than one market, and this one's mostly gonna be trinkets and souvenirs.
Yes, that is a good.
Okay.
That is a good presumption.
Kind
When,
of window shop as we're going.
when you make your way to that estate, you'll note that the grounds appear to be very park-like. Basically, the main thoroughfare seems to just kind of exit out onto small little like paths, but there are wooden signs nearby that say "This way to the Amarnath Manor," and it seems to be kind of like if for those of you who are Indiana based, if you've ever been to like Minnetrista, there's like a path that kind of like goes and then like splits off to one of the houses and kind of denotes where that's located. I don't have an equivalent for New Jersey or wherever else.
It's like a park.
We have those.
It's like a park. Fair. But yeah, if you want to kind of meander
With
down,
points of interest.
if you want to meander down the path directed to where you're kind of going, you could do so. And Grok, you'd be kind of passing by them and heading. The directions he would have given you would have been head towards the second circle, and then turn left, and then you'll see them. Okay. But if you meander through the park, you'll note that there are several people who are very finely dressed, kind of meandering about as well. Some of them seem to kind of look at you as you pass them by. This would be Raya, Shambles, and Benson, and are kind of like, oh, and they'll kind of like step to this far side of the path that you're on, kind of keeping a decent distance between you and them as they pass you by.
Does it seem to be out of respect or out of fear?
Insight check.
May I also make it?
Absolutely. You're not sure. You definitely know that you are kind of different looking. So I mean, they look like they're very. I would say the assumption would be it's because of fear. The base assumption would be fear.
I'm gonna go ahead and put my I forget the name of it, but the dagger on display.
Okay. Your lord the dagger.
Honorable dagger. The wrong.
Okay. So the next group that you pass will kind of go, oh, and they'll go, oh, and then one of them will kind of stop and go, Excuse me, Master Elf. Apologies. You appear to be new in Benish. Might I ask your name?
I am Sir Zadok Mishrael.
Zadok, a saint. And then you kind of see the other person kind of go, oh, interesting. Well, I am Oran, and I am very interested in you. Are you new in Benish, and are you planning to stay a time?
I passed through once years ago, but didn't stay. So I guess technically this would be my first time.
Very interesting. Well, there are a lot of avenues for an increase in wealth, and seeing that you appear to be a landed individual, it might be beneficial for you to invest in certain matters in Benish. What with the Iron Road being run through here, it seems to be a very lucrative time.
Yes, the Iron Road is of intrigue to me. It's very precise subject I need to deal with. I'm actually headed to the capital to speak about that.
Oh, very interesting. Well, like I said, my name is Oran, and he pulls out a piece of parchment that's very kind of card-like, and hands it to you. If you have any interest in possibly investing in matters here in Benish, please feel free to call upon me. And you notice that the reason why he kind of dipped into not talking more about the subject matter and engaging with you more is because the woman that he's with kind of tugged on his sleeve, kind of getting his attention, like they had to do something else. So he dips to the card.
I take it.
All right. And he bows gracefully, and the two of you head on along the way. So does she as well, his consort. All right.
You've grown quite popular.
Shambles. Eat this card.
You got it.
It's in there forever. Oops,
There's a shredder in there.
Oops, I
Now we
pooped.
know where it is.
Oh, it's a shredder. He's a. Okay.
That would be
A
good.
shredder.
If it had like
There
a,
is a shredder in there.
if it had a
Yeah,
stick-through
I'm the
stomach
shredder.
area,
So the
machine.
the compound proper, like the oh gosh, I can't think of the word. The campus of Amarnath's Manor or Amarnath's estate. It appears to be a number of smaller buildings that you're kind of walking past, and a very large building in the middle. And it winds you around to the front, where you see three very tall structures, obelisk structures, out in front of the building. And then there are a number of columns kind of in the porch area of it, and a very massive double door. This immediately triggers everyone kind of mentally, because the doors appear to be very, very similar to the doors that were on the Magier's Tower of Purplegate.
Neat.
They are the only thing that look like that, though. The building looks like it's completely Osirian, but the doors appear to be of a Jernarian, or sorry, a Vitalian kind of styling.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of the tree either.
Sorry, I also have alcohol in me, but I nailed it.
While we're riding, Benson's just kind of taking in the sights and excited to see Brandon just kind of drawing and looking at the places around. Just he looks in awe of the place and size. He hasn't been here in a long time.
You'll note that the main door, the big kind of dark and scripted door, appears to be kind of like the main proprietary door. But there is a smaller door that is open, and kind of like people are walking through it and entering into the manor and out. You would see Seroth kind of exiting out with three people in tow, a retinue, and they appear to be kind of talking about things. One appears to be taking notes, but the other two appear to be kind of discussing something. He kind of looks to the side lazily as he's kind of talking and sees the hand staff and sees Benson. He goes, conversation's over, please relieve yourselves of me. And he kind of starts making his way over to Benson. Benson!
Bitches. Out.
Bitches, leave! He says, Benson!
How have you been
my friend.
It's so great to see you. Saroth Amarnath is a high elvish male with blonde hair. It's pulled back in a ponytail, and you can see that the ponytail kind of goes all the way down to his mid back. He's wearing very regal kind of attire, not too dissimilar from what you're currently wearing because it is of a conglomerate nature. It does look like he is also a man of culture in that he seems to kind of take on like the very prettiest things and kind of put them on. So he has baubles. You can see with true sight, you can see that there are magical items kind of adorning him. And he kind of goes, and then as you're kind of beginning the conversation, he says, "Those spectacles are amazing. Where did you get those?"
Oh, we found them along the road. How? But enough about me. I'm excited to see you. What brings you here?
I live here. What brings you here?
I'm I'm heading to see about some possible help with a school that we're going to be doing.
Amazing. Well, I figured you were probably making your way into Benish because of the Iron Road. Is that not the case?
Actually, it's kind of a two birds, one stone kind of thing.
Well, very good, very good. I have some tea that could be prepared relatively quickly. Looks to your
Oh, my friend, why would else would we come here other than the amazing company and the amazing tea?
looks to your two associates and looks at Shambles and kind of goes, "How strange." And then kind of walks over and like places his hand on your chest. Do you stop him from touching you, or do you allow him?
I'm gonna look at Benson like, is this normal? Is this a culture thing?
Just whisper lower.
Is this wizard stuff?
He hasn't seen. You're an exotic beauty. I travel with a eclectic bunch nowadays.
This is not an automaton. This is a true undaunted. He looks at you.
Happy accidents.
Oh, he's cooler than your typical Undaunted. Give Benson an hour and he'll show you a trick.
And he looks over to you.
Oh, yeah.
My. It kind of like looks over to Raya. Well, so if you want to come inside, we can certainly start up some tea and maybe some conversation, and you can explain this magnificent thing. Well, I'm sorry, I apologize. Is he sentient? Gestures towards Shambles.
Again, hi.
Ask him.
He looks to you again and he says, "Apologies. Hi is a very rudimentary affirmation of a start of dialogue. I didn't know."
Tomorrow, sir. Me amo shambles.
He nods.
Holy shit, it speaks Spanish.
He nods his head. You can see like there's a flush on his face, and he says, "Apologies. The only things that I've seen that look like you dwell in Bonrock and are very different than, are very incapable of making their way this far south. That is why I was first fascinated, and even more so now that you can say, mi amo shambles. That you knew Spanish, or I'm sorry, that you knew Elvish is insane to me." Had a character note. I don't know Spanish, but I imagine that Elvish would be close.
I'll bet not.
Hey, French is probably closer.
No,
I don't know.
They're
no.
both close.
I would have leaned French on it. Too.
I don't do French for that. No, if French is anything, it's Drow.
And that's just the type of elf.
Well, I mean, they do technically have kind of different languages, right?
Like
No,
Underdark?
yeah, Undercommon
Undercommon?
would be French.
We're gonna
Or is
offend
it-
some people.
Or the more
Uh-oh, we're on Twitch. Forgot. That's,
Stepping on some toes.
that's. I'm French. I can step on my own toes if I want.
No.
That's fair. You head inside. I'm gonna skip from you guys there and go out to let's
Probably a
do
good idea.
let's do
We're gonna
Brooklyn.
get some fancy teas.
Brooklyn. So you make your way up that way. You would see the offices of the Fighters Guild. You would also see that there appears to be a decent amount of people kind of congregated outside of the Coliseum just north of you. There's a series of 8 very high pillars, and on top of those pillars are statues fashioned of complete gold that appear to be like heroes or champions. You can go and kind of move towards the Coliseum proper, or you can go to the offices of the Fighters Guild if you choose.
I'll go to the offices first.
Okay. You enter inside. There's a number of individuals. Looks like there are probably about 3 competent fighters present, but they appear to have retinues that are traveling with them, and they seem to be kind of standing and waiting. You would see that the person at the front desk appears to be a very short human woman. Her hair is just a storm of dark gray and white hair, kind of just blossoming from the top of her head. She's wearing a very massive set of spectacles that appear to be very thick as well. And she kind of looks over to you and she says, "Yes! Are you entering the tournament in it?
Not at the moment. I'm just kind of looking around town.
Our business is currently very pressing. Unless you have someone that you wish to speak to directly or you're with one of the individuals who's present, please leave this place. Thank you."
I'll walk back out and walk to the Coliseum, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, man, you could have entered that tournament. We wouldn't mind.
If
Be
you
your little cheerleaders.
exit out, you would see that there are a number of people who are kind of just milling around. It looks like all of them have what appear to be kind of very small water skins. But from what you can tell as they kind of pour the contents into the mouth, it's not water. It appears to have more of kind of like a goldish color to it. It looks like a mead almost. And you can see that there's a vendor who's kind of walking around with a bunch of these bags kind of hanging on their body, just walking around and occasionally like passing one off for a coin. And they're just kind of milling around outside of the Coliseum.
Kind of scoot past all them and just walking around in the Coliseum, see what if I
Okay.
can get in.
You would actually recognize the mead, by the way. It's called Atavius's Blood, and basically it's very potent honey mead that's kind of sold in and around Cloudy Lake. It's mostly alcohol, but it's kind of sweet. But yeah, the people you kind of pass by, you can hear them kind of talking, like, "Can't wait for the next fight, it's gonna be amazing!" And like, they seem to be kind of, very focused on the activity, because again, remember, you arrived late after or mid-afternoon. So you make your way up to the front. It doesn't look like there's much of a line. There's a couple people kind of waiting at what appears to be kind of the admission booth. Do you stop and kind of wait in line for admission, or?
Yeah, I'll wait in line at the admission. And while I'm in line, I'll just ask people, how the current fights have been going and stuff like that.
The first person says, "Oh, I just heard that there's a pretty amazing spectacle going on. They appear to be taking on all comers at this point at the Fighters Guild. Very rare to be sure. Apparently, one of the champions has called for a call to arms. It hasn't happened in decades. Normally, the fighters are slotted and prepared pre-tournament, but any fighter has the capacity to do this, and it seems that a lot of people are rushing over that way. So I figured I'd grab my tickets to see these last few fights for the day and see how it goes."
Do you know the rules of the Coliseum? Do they allow, magic as well in the fights, or is it just pure sword and shield?
The only rule is that you fight to the point where the other yields. If you kill a party inside of the competition, then you are charged with murder. Those are the only 2 rules that I know of. The guy in front of you says, kind of an older gentleman says, "That's about right, yeah, you should just do whatever you want."
Do you know what the prize is for winning?
The old man says, "Right, of course I do. If you win the tournaments that are going on in the early summer, you're allowed access to the Midsummer Grand Tournament, which happens in the capital. It's said that Genji Hattori himself would be gracing the tournament. It's been a long time since a champion of a grand tournament has returned. Not since..." And he says, I can't remember your name. I don't want to check my notes. Can you tell me your name, Zach?
Messenger Vester.
He says that name. It's not since that person came about and fought in the grand tournament 3 times in a row and won them all. A grand tournament champion has got back.
Alrighty then. After hearing that, I'll go back to the Fighters Guild and enter myself in the tournament.
She says, "I already told you to leave. Or are you really here to fight? Okay, fine. Come quick, come quick. Alright." She puts a piece of parchment in front of you with a bunch of lines and notations. Please, next to the ordered subject, place your information there proper. Yeah, go ahead and make a intelligence check to see if you could fill out the form properly.
Oh boy.
Natural 20.
Nailed it, fucking nailed it. Gain inspiration for rolling a natural
With
20.
a +0.
So great. She goes, fucking finally. It's been so long since someone's filled out the form correctly.
You're
Okay,
so
great.
good at form filling.
You will
It's
be.
usually just a big handprint on it.
She says,
That's how we did it in my day.
take this.
Papers.
She,
Slap the papers out of our hands.
she hands you a wooden block with etchings on it in Old Osirian. She says, take this, and the people at the Coliseum will tell you exactly where you need to be. Quickly, post haste.
Okay, I'll take it and I'll go over there as fast as I can.
All right. We'll cut back to Grok. Grok, you make your way from the circle and head down the street. You see 3 large buildings. 2 of them appear to have kind of a dome structure on the top of them, one much larger than the other, and the third building appears to have 2 spires that run out of the top of it. You look at them and kind of think to yourself, make a history check to see if you're familiar with the association.
Okay. 13.
Relatively familiar. So you would know that the Association of Talna Marie is kind of a global grouping that focuses on the protection, the cataloging, and the cataloging the protection of all peoples, the cataloging of all knowledge, and the destruction of all evils. It's probably the most erudite I've ever said what they do. I won't remember it next week. But if you make
I wrote it down, so.
perfect, if you make your way onto the campus, you would see that these buildings have a couple of smaller structures in between. One appears to be kind of like a small manor house, but there's also a massive fountain in the center that appears to have a man with a sword up in the air, wizardly kind of man with a staff up in the air, and elvish ears, and then a dwarvish male with shield kind of held out in the fence.
Would I recognize them as historical figures? Or how
With your 13, no.
Okay, well, I'm going to speculate that they were important figures in some past moment.
Okay.
They were being commemorated. Okay.
There are also a lot of people there are a lot of people wandering about the campus, kind of talking. Some people are kind of sitting. It's very much like a college campus.
Okay. So I would walk up to a person who looks like they might know something and ask where I would find someone with information about any dragons that might have been battled recently.
The half elf that you're speaking to kind of looks at you and goes, "Dragons. Interesting. Well, there's plenty to study." He gestures towards the building with the 2 spire-like structures. In the Sanctum of the Staff, the scribes there should be able to assist you there. That's where I do most of my studying, just so long as you are an associate.
I am not.
Well, I would suggest going to the Sanctum of the Staff regardless. They might be able to assist you. But
Since you seem to be familiar, do they catalog recent history as well?
yes, anything that's handled by staff associate, or if it's transferred over to a staff associate by a sword or shield associate.
Great. So I would head in that direction.
All right, you make your way over. The building is pretty impressive, very ornate, white marble columns. You kind of enter into it after a series of maybe a dozen or so steps. And as you kind of enter into this pretty decent size hall, a gentleman kind of walks over to you, clean shaven, slicked back, kind of dirty blonde hair, looks at you and says, "Welcome, Master, to the Sanctum of the Staff. How can I assist you? Is there anything of import that you wish to divulge to the Sanctum?"
So Grok would say, "Welcome. I am Grok, Sentinel of Boru, member of what is our group called? The Hand of Nudis."
I think we're called the Saints.
No, we're not. associate of the Hand of Mudas.
You said
Um,
Sentinel of Oru, correct?
That's right.
Apologies. I do not deal with elvish relations. One moment. I will go and get a scribe who will more appropriately be able to deal with your matters.
Thank you.
He heads off into the hall, leaving you kind of open there. People are kind of passing by. You can hear conversation, very scholarly dialogue happening.
That's cool. While that's happening, Grok is reaching into his bag and pulling out his dragon hide cloak.
Perfect. You're throwing on the hipster attire. Uh,
No, I'm just holding it in my hand.
Okay, that's fine. Eventually, a elvish individual kind of walks out to you. You immediately recognize that he's not an elf. He's actually an Eladrin, which is kind of like a higher than high elf, more tied to the Fae. The individual is currently displaying what appears to be a very spring-like appearance, and their eyes are very kind of green, very, very verdant. Steps to you and says, Master, one second. Grok, yes. I knew you're one of the more recent, the last couple of decades that you've joined Oru's sentinelship, correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. I heard a rumor, and I would like it confirmed. It would definitely give you more access to the libraries here if you were able to answer it. But is it true that Oru currently received an additional sentinel, one Hazil, the fiery bird of the mounts?
That is true.
Amazing. And this being confirmed, kind of looks off to the side as if talking to someone, but there's no one there. This being confirmed, that proves that I am correct, and you owe me a glass of wine. Grins and then looks back to you. Well then,
Glad to have helped you with your wager.
you are here for a purpose, I presume.
That's correct. So I am concerned with all things that might endanger my master. And we recently have encountered a number of, and he takes out the cloak and he sort of, is there like a counter or a plate? You sort of set it on.
He kind of stops for a second and says, no. Places his hand on the dragon hide. This could only be the hide of Hornbeck, the white dragon of Icefang Mound. Is this correct?
That is correct. Some call him the smooth-brained Freemus.
Smooth-brained Freemus. Interesting. We will,
Hornbeck, yes.
It's catching on.
we will take this into our records and denote it.
Ooh, it's official
Yeah,
now.
that-
It's in the history books, boys. We did it.
And again, when he says we will take this into our records to denote it, it seems like he's talking to a third party who does not appear to be present. If you'd like to make an Arcana check to try and pick up on what's going on here, you can.
I would. I have a feeling he's using some sort of magics to transcribe what he's saying.
Eh.
The secretary.
23.
Arcane Eye is apparently present near him, and he's basically talking to the person on the other side who's watching him.
Got it.
He looks to you and says, "This is another great piece of information that you brought to me, so we definitely are at your favor. What are you seeking in particular?"
Hornbeck is not the only dragon that we have encountered. Most recently, my group and I have encountered Orbicus, the black dragon mage,
Orbicus,
and
the Penetrator, yes.
Tatsui and Ashmad.
Those are far afield. We were under the assumption that they were nowhere near here.
So I would just base it. Can you remind me, out of character, the location where we encountered them?
Yeah, it would be the Golden Toe mine.
Right. And I would say that, and say that they were. Orbicus summoned the other two. They were together. They flew off together, and I fear they might do great harm to the lands. I'm trying to track them as I can. I also heard from your very helpful town guard that a black dragon was killed by the Holy Knights. Wanted to see if it might have been this same Orbicus.
Not killed, defeated, and pushed back. It was indeed the Penetrator. That is accurate. The Comus Pelotinists fought bravely. Several of them fell and are currently being left in state at the parish of the even-handed judge here within Benish. It seems that the dragon was attempting to attack the automatons that are being utilized for the Iron Road's deployment, and they were defeated and bested, or the dragon was defeated and bested by the Holy Knights. Is that all you were seeking information-wise? Orbicus was forced to retreat back to its redoubt, the Stone-Tooth Mountain.
A moment.
He pulls out a book and starts writing. 1 second.
So
I don't have time.
I
This is going to take a minute.
several other questions about this. When did this happen, and was Orbicus alone?
This happened about 3 days ago? And you hear a yes. 3 days ago.
And was Orbicus alone?
Yes.
And thinking back to the gold, was it the gold toe?
Golden, yeah, gold.
Yeah.
Right.
When did that happen?
That
In-game.
was a
In-game
while.
character.
That was a while
A while
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so this happened afterwards. So it seems like the three dragons have sort of parted ways, and Orbicus is sort of doing his nasty business on his own.
Correct.
Okay.
That was John saying correct, not the elf.
I understand.
Okay.
So Grok would say you've been very helpful. It seems as if the three dragons have parted ways. I would be very interested in keeping tabs on them. Is there any way that you can communicate that with me when I'm far afield?
Unfortunately, no, unless you were to sign on and become an associate. Being that you are currently loyal to your current master, I don't think that would be proper. Though it, with permission from Oru, I suppose it wouldn't be too. It wouldn't complicate your current endeavors much. Our goals are similar to those of the Sainted Dragon.
I will inquire, and if I receive an answer while I'm still in town, I will return. Thank you.
Very good. Well, we are here, and if you wish to sign up and become a member of the staff, perfect. Did you get all of that? Yes. You hear? I'm sorry. Yes, you hear. And then the lantern wanders off. Cutting back to those of you who made it to the manor house. By this time, you've all kind of sat around a small table, very comfortable seats, very high-backed cushioned seats, and tea has been set up before you. Saroth kind of looks to Benson. A school, you say?
Yep. I would want to try to serve the tea and as a respect.
And you would basically be rebuked from being able to do so. It does appear that very specific individuals, maidens, who appear to be of Stereosian origin, are working the kitchens, and they appear to be the ones that are serving the tea. And as you're watching them, make a history check. You don't know exactly what's happening with that 13, but you do see that they're moving the cups, teapots, and everything in a very ritualistic manner. And it seems that they're doing something that's outside of your capability. And you're kind of like, I don't know what's going on. And they're not letting me help, so I'm just gonna... Or you can try and force yourself on the situation. Okay, yeah, it looks like they're being very precise in their preparation and serving of the tea. And then once it's all completed, Saroth kind of looks to you and gestures as a house guest would, or as a host would, to the house guests when it's appropriate to drink. And it's really good. Not that Shambles can tell, but it's really good. Oh, you're drinking it. I know, that's fine. You're getting the wood chip inside of you wet. Or was it... What else did they put in you?
It was a piece of
Business
paper.
card.
Oh, it was a piece
There
of
was
paper.
old spaghetti.
Fair enough.
If
Oh,
you
it's
need
a
some
rubber
old
board.
bread,
It's all wet. It's all, but Ryan
A lot of
trying to-
flies.
trying to drown the maggots.
Benson would note that the tea is very much It's very potent. It's like a green tea. If you've ever had like a really strong green tea, but it has a very cherry blossom kind of taste, and it also has a very kind of honey taste. And it doesn't seem that those two flavors are coming from additives. It seems like the tea has been kind of fashioned in such a way that those flavors kind of are imbued into the tea leaf. So it's like
Yeah, just straight up whipping my ass is the first thing I've tasted in like 4 months.
I haven't had to eat. That said, he
You don't have to. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Oh, I know, but I've just refused at every possible.
Don't do that. It's funny.
okay. So he says a school, and kind of questioningly.
Yes. We're looking at just building a school in the town and hoping to help some of the poor souls that have had a trouble getting into the field of magic. I feel that it's something that needs to be spread a little more freely than what it has been with, magic secrets and all.
Well, I dabble in the arcane arts. I'm not terribly gifted, like you, and I don't have any formal training, but he kind of looks to Raya.
Someone like you is exactly who we want. You haven't had that training, you haven't been able to, but even with that innate little bit of ability and some pushing from your own just will, you've been able to manifest this, and I feel that more people would do that if they had that will and wanted to, instead of just being locked out without the natural talents that some people come into it. It can be built, I believe.
He kind of looks kind of taken aback. If you all want to make an insight check, you can. Shambles and Mishrael get it. Benson,
Oh, I gotta do two.
you can if you want to.
Insight?
Yep.
6.
No idea. You're not reading the room right. You can definitely tell that Saroth's kind of put down by the fact that Benson didn't ask him to be a teacher at the school, and is instead asking him to be a student.
I didn't ask him to be a student.
You kind of did. It sounded like you...
No, he asked him to come in and
That's
give him a different way of doing it.
Oh,
Not come in as like a
Oh.
typical teacher and beat it into them like this is the only way to learn. Coming at them with
misunderstanding on the DM's part, because the way it was
he
said.
wanted
No,
alternate perspective of how
okay.
to learn.
Since that was the vibe from everyone else catching it and me just reading the words wrong in my head, scratch all I just said. That didn't happen. He's kind of got a grin on his face. He says, "Well, absolutely. I'd be more than interested. I suppose that you're going to want direct connection with Benish then. My father was a Grand Mage who fought in the Civil War, and it is something that we have a decent amount of library material present here in his study. I've been dabbling into it and doing what I could to transfer some of the matters into my own styling of a spell book. But if you would like to peruse the library, the study, I certainly would allow you access."
I would be certainly honored. I mean, everyone has remembered stories of your father. He was a grand mage.
Not many stood against the conglomerate when they made their way into Munio. But Benish was a bulwark against their machinations. Grins proudly. You continue drinking tea. Small talk is had at that point. And then when he rises up, he basically offers it to the table. If you want to part company, you may. But go ahead, Benson.
Benson will be actually stirring his cup in an exact way that if anyone were to look at it, the cup, it's actually making like a tea leaf actual like ripple effect in it. We're stirring it the exact way to where it makes it look like a tea leaf is actually in it through the ripples of the tea.
One of the maidens looks to you and kind of stops for a second and says, "Huh." She grins and she kind of places the another cup next to you, and then with her hand she kind of does the exact same thing, but does it through hand gestures and magic. You would recognize the spell as the cantrip Shape Water, and she's manipulating to do as she pleases on the frame. You're using kind of prestidigitation to kind of make the effect, but she seems to be actually shaping the actual tea.
She takes both cups, throws them against the wall, gets a fresh one, and starts over because you've ruined the ritual.
No. She seems to be
You're slow with the tea syrup.
she's smiling, and she seems to be intrigued, and then she shows you her craft.
I excitedly look at is it
Sarah.
Saroth. I'm like, look, Saroth, she can do the tea trick too, and I show him the tea leaf.
And he looks to it. Oh, yes. She and others here have helped me in my studies. And she looks to you and says, "I am Miku."
She can be a teacher too.
I'm gonna do this because I want to make sure you know what's going on. Okay, cool. Yep, never mind. I'm good. Never mind. We're good. I checked it. We're good. So yeah, cool. She could come help be a teacher too.
Okay. As they kind of part away and stuff gets cleaned up, and the group is kind of separating out and away, Saroth opens the table for Shambles and for Raya to leave company if they so please, but is basically directing Benson in a way that he would basically be like, I really don't want them to come with us into the study of my father.
That's absolutely understandable. It's trade secrets, boys. Sorry.
And it's more of a kind of an invitation to stay here in the manor proper, or to leave if you want.
Yeah, I could read the room. Benson, do you think you'll be here for a while?
I think we'll be here for a little bit. Yeah. I'm one. We have to look at this library. Two, we got to look at this tea.
Right.
I'm gonna kind of noticeably let my holy symbol fall out as I stand up to exit.
Subtle.
And you're sure you're good here?
But Shade recognized.
Oh, I look at Shambles and very seriously. Yeah, absolutely, old friend. This is a safe place for us.
The dismissal is still present, though. Even
Right.
We were dismissed. We left.
Oh no, I was just making sure.
As I'm leaving,
Yes.
I'm rather interested in the Colosseum I saw to the west of here. I don't want to burden you. Would it be acceptable if I left a handful of my wares here behind?
Absolutely fine. I suppose you and your accompaniment, Benson, can stay here. I have plenty of apartments that would be welcoming. He looks to Benson. Is your friend Shambles a competent combatant? Oh, sorry. Apologies. I'm still getting to the use of the fact that you are sentient. Are you a competent combatant? Are you planning to join into the Colosseum? I do understand they are currently open for new combatants. There's been a call to arms that's been placed throughout the city earlier this morning.
I'm gonna take another, serious look at Benson. Trustworthy? Good dude?
Yeah, he is.
He looks over
I
to.
was once called Christopher Bester.
He looks over to Miku and says, "Quickly, my favor, please." She says, "Of course." Heads away. If you are wishing to enter into the Colosseum for the purposes of combat, and you are a trusted companion, and you are a great hero of not only Benish, but all of Osiria, I'd be more than happy to allow you, or rather more so, pleadingly asking you to take my favor with you into the Colosseum.
What is it you ask?
You would kind of have a momentary kind of weird
What
jargon.
is this favor?
He's gonna sponsor you.
He is acting as your
Like a
sponsor.
next car.
Yeah.
Oh. Alright.
Can I paint my name on your body?
There's this moment where you're like, oh yeah, I remember having the favor of several curios kind of moment.
I'm new to this.
Eventually, they come out with what appears to be kind of a rod. It appears to be completely shorn out of gold. Miku passes it to him, and then he passes it to you.
Swallow it.
Gall.
I don't even take it out of his hand, just saw a whole hand and all, just whoop.
I'll take it.
The rod in question appears to have a kind of ornate kind of patterning in Old Osirian, the Etanonish language. And then at the capstone of the rod, there appears to be a small chick, like a baby chicken, kind of sculpted into the top. And you would have noticed a couple of markers around the house with House Amarnath's like logo, and it appears that their house icon is a very small. It almost looks like a peep. The house icon.
Circle back to that. Please. I'll gladly accept this. Please understand. I wish to enter this tournament. I was made aware that a Saryujan man named Kenshi Hattori, may be accessible if I were to perform well in this tournament.
He will be in the grand tournament, but if that is your end goal, I do have some friends in Bellum who might be able to assist you. We'll talk on this matter.
What I'm getting at is, I'd like to achieve these things without the title of a former master. I'd rather people not know my true identity.
I understand.
I was once known as Christian Trevester. I'd like to leave with you my master's sword, rather with Benson, until the deed is done.
I will hold anything that you and your compatriot, your very distinguished friend, are willing to leave with me.
Oh, really?
I'll unsheath Sophia's sword and pass it over to Benson.
He looks to it and says, "That blade has been warped by magic. Very interesting.
A lot of things happen.
I can tell if your story is accurate, and I do not hold you to contest that you're deceiving me. A lot must have happened." He looks to Benson. "Perhaps a story for another time. There are a lot of books and matters to handle within my father's library."
At any rate, I don't wish to enter this tournament as a returning champion.
Your secret.
Shame is apt for now.
Your secret is safe with me.
Thank you much.
Benson.
What the hell is this stick?
So it's his favor. Basically, if you go into the Coliseum, instead of being put into like the general populace like Brooklyn's about to be put into, you have your own basically ready room. You are given everything that his family is entitled to in the Coliseum. You are given all of the best benefits to begin with, and when you are announced or you are placed as if you were a servant of his house. So when you have the favor of a lordship, basically it's like
it is a sponsorship.
You're important, whereas Brooklyn, the guy off the street, is just basically you look like Macho Man Randy Savage, and that mother fudger looks like what do they call him? Jobber. He looks like a jobber.
You're getting set up as the Hulk, and Rook's going to come through as Thor, like in Ragnarok.
Yes.
Exactly right.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
I know that guy.
He's the green one, but whatever, it works.
Cutting back to Brooklyn. You take the token you were granted and head to the Coliseum. The people of the admission say to head towards a different entryway. Once you make it to that entryway, the person kind of standing there waiting for you is kind of an old, grizzled-looking individual and kind of goes, "Oh, you're next. What the hell are you doing out here? Come on!" And starts jogging through the halls. You're kind of going into this weird under area and moving through the halls very quickly. And he kind of stops and kind of looks to this other man who's kind of like standing there waiting and says, "No, he's too late. We've already put on the other fighter. He'll have to be the next or the one after that. There's a couple that have lined up already." And the old man kind of goes, "You should have been here on time."
I'm new to this city, man. I didn't even know this was an option until like 5 seconds ago.
"Well, if somebody else gets the glory before you get a chance, then, well, that's too bad, but no problem. I guess you can wait over there with the others." And you can see that there's like about 20 individuals kind of standing around. Some of them are kind of like practicing, and some of them are like looking at the people practicing, kind of like shaking their head like idiots. Okay.
Just standing,
It's
wait.
a very
flex.
sweaty, smelly area.
Just sit there and flex.
Of the 20, it doesn't look like any of them are terribly interesting, except for 3. The 3 that are interesting, you see a Osirian male, brown hair, kind of scarred looking face, wearing a bright red scarf, very similar to scarves you've seen in the past. He's wearing kind of a light leather armor, all blackened. It appears that there are some scratches on it, and on his belt he has a rapier and a dagger. The dagger appears to be of a gouache styling, or main gouache styling, so it looks like he prefers the rapier and utilizes the dagger as his defensive weapon. The other 2 individuals of interest, there is a full orc who appears to have a very massive great axe that he's kind of got placed down in the dirt and has his foot up on kind of the bearded portion of the axe, just kind of watching one of the people who's kind of like practicing, going, and then his armoring is pretty much non-existent. It looks like it's mostly just kind of his clothing, so much the matter, appears to just be kind of furs that have been kind of put on and bolted on with some form of nail or staple or something to that effect. And then the third person who appears to be of interest appears to be a halfling who is very, very quietly sitting off to the side. The halfling in question is in full knight's armor and has a lance that stands about 4 times as tall as he is. Just kind of standing there.
So far, out of character, I'm gonna take a guess and say the first one's probably a rogue. I would say.
For sure, it's a crimson scarf.
And the second one is 100%. The orc's got to be a barbarian.
Probably.
And I'm gonna assume the last guy's an actual fighter.
Yeah, or a paladin.
Or paladin.
Yeah.
Probably got one of every melee class. Let's go.
Yeah.
Monk.
Well, these ones are people that are going to go in and fight the person who's... So, just so you understand what's happening in the Colosseum, the people you're looking at are not going to be combatants that you'll be fighting with. These are people that are going to be going in to fight the person who's called to arms. A call for all challengers. There's someone in the Colosseum who's basically whipping everyone's ass right now. And these people are lined up and ready to go. Like, they want to go in there and get their ass beat. But the people that I didn't mention, they look like scrub lords who are going to get owned. These 3 people look like they might have a chance. You would note that the in the belt of the knight, the halfling knight, he appears to have a rod made out of platinum, and it looks like on the top of that rod there appears to be like an eagle, kind of at rest. And the barbarian does not have such a token. Neither does the rogue.
Let's see. I guess I'll go up to each. I'll go to the orc first, and I'll ask him. I'll start a conversation and be like, "Do you know who the challenger is who called us all here?
Some wench, I don't know.
Or do you know what their fighting style is like?"
I saw it, but I didn't really care. She's small. I'll break her in half.
Awesome, bud.
Probably not going to be the tactical genius.
Yeah, should have thought of that. But I'll go over to, I guess, the guy with the little eagle thing.
As you're kind of making your way over to him, you can hear kind of the din of the crowd outside. Kind of like, ah. There sounds like there's probably a couple hundred, possibly more people out in the Colosseum proper, around or overhead you. And as you kind of like are looking at the halfling, you can also see that it looks like there is a point where you can kind of walk out to kind of like a bullpen kind of position to watch the fight. But the halfling kind of sees you coming up and says, hi, there.
I only have one question. What's that little eagle thing on your side there?
Oh, I am a representative of one of the merchant lords of Benish. I am their chosen champion. I think I go up next. You can see as you're about to finish that conversation, the old guy kind of walks over and says, Master Green Toes, you're next. He says, well, I'm sorry, I gotta cut the conversation off. I've gotta go and hope that I can defeat this maiden.
Good luck, buddy. Pat him on the back.
That dude's about to get turned inside out.
Yep, you watch him walk out that way. and then you can hear kind of like the herald kind of announce the individual. Master Knight and holy compatriot of the the even-handed judge and servant of Gemwich, Master Greentoes, will be facing off against the challenger. Like, it sounds like the first fight that you kind of thought you were hearing was happening, there was just a name, and then it was the fighting started. And now it's like a bunch of titles and another person's name, the master that he seems to be serving. And then it sounds like the fight's starting.
I'll go out to the bullpen and kind of watch the fight then.
You kind of pop out there. You'd see that the Coliseum proper kind of has a pretty open space, really not much to it. There really isn't anywhere to hide, run, or anywhere. You could see that the Master Halfling is kind of taking his position, and it seems that he's very quickly casting a spell on the ground, which summons a horse underneath him, and he kind of gets up onto it. A very massive steed. Across the way from him, you see a woman, blonde hair kind of fluttering in the wind, wearing a tabard with the symbol of Atavius on it. In one hand she has a guitar dagger, and in the other hand she appears to have a very ornate-looking kind of dagger, similar in style to the rondel dagger that Raya has on his belt. As the horse is manifested, it starts to charge towards the woman. It looks like the size differentiation is massive. She is maybe 5'2", 5'3", and she doesn't seem to be moving as this horse is about to just trample over her. You watch, in the blink of an eye, she shifts to the side, leaps up onto the back of the horse, places both knives down into the back of the halfling. You hear the crumpling of armor from this far away, and she pulls backwards as the horse continues on, and the two fall over in a backwards flip, landing the halfling face down, her atop him, and you hear the loud words in Osirian yelled out, "Yield!" And you can see the halfling's face kind of, "Ah!" And he appears to just concede at that point.
Dang, I was rooting for my mans. Really wanted him to get it.
At that point, we're going to go ahead and cut back out from you to Shambles. I believe you're making your way to the Fighters Guild, correct?
We're strolling. I'm telling Raya we gotta go watch this.
Is Raya going with you?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, yeah.
Alright. You make it to the guild. A couple of more fights, by the way, on your side, Brooklyn, will have happened in between. But you make it to the guild. Woman, as I mentioned before, large spectacles, kind of sees you enter. Ha! Ah, there's still more coming. This is insanity. Are you fighting or no? Or are you wasting my time?
I have this rod from Seroth.
The chosen of Amarnath? Very good.
Yeah.
The team merchant has sent his best. Everyone is trying to throw their blades into the mix. Fine, perfect. One of you, points to Raya.
I'm with him.
Ah, a retinue. Not many folks entering in have that. That's fine. Please come close.
He's my page.
Places a piece of paper in front of Shambles. Please fill this out.
United.
Please fill this out. And then pulls out what appears to be a jade bead necklace and hands it to Raya. Wear this, or they will throw you in with her.
Either way, it's fine. I put it on. I'm gonna fill out the form for him.
Make
That's the best idea.
an intelligence check. Because you're doing it for someone else, I'm going to give you a
Crazy
disadvantage, though.
I'll spend my inspiration.
You take the better part of a half an hour. Cutting back.
Also, this,
Just
also,
out of
also,
curiosity,
you go ahead.
I know this is okay. Yeah. No,
I will cut back to
carry the 6.
Grok. You exit
I'll
out.
finish this up. You go on ahead.
You exit out of the Sanctum of the Staffs. Still in the college campus setting. You have an idea of where Benson went. You have an idea of where Brooklyn went, and you knew who went with who. But beyond that, you are kind of in the middle there. Do you want to go anywhere in particular past that, or do you want to continue checking out the college and the other sanctums?
No, that's okay. I think I have the information I wanted, and T sounds a little boring. No offense, Benson, so I was going to go after Brooklyn.
Okay. I would say that as the form is being filled out, if you're going to the Fighters Guild, you would enter in and you would see Shambles and Brooklyn. and this elderly woman, bright, shining goggles, says, "Ah! Someone locked the doors already! Are you a fighter?
Not today. I'm not. I'm here with.
Then leave! Get out of
with
here!"
those two.
He's with me.
I'm with those two.
Ah!
He's the other half of the retinue. Hand the necklace.
You hear clanging in the bottom, and you see her pull out a jade necklace and toss it onto the table.
I'd put it on my big fat neck.
Just put it on and help me spell shambles.
It actually seems to magically
Put way
resize
too
and
many M's in it.
it actually seems to magically resize and fit your big fat neck.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
What did I
so
miss?
far, I'm the best
He would say to
paperwork.
Raya.
I'll fill you in after we get out of here. I think I'm almost done with these forms.
Okay. You need to concentrate. Sorry.
I'm sitting scratching my head,
But I can
Chewing
fill
on-
out for you, man.
chewing on quills.
I mean, I've only got 3 fingers, so you're probably better at that than me.
Mad libs. Between the two of you.
This is great, by the way. Once you
I'm writing them up like a 20-minute intro. They're gonna have to read off titles.
once you finish, you kind of get to the point where she's kind of gesturing you along, annoyed that it took so long. In the meantime, Brooklyn, you're kind of watching the fights as they proceed. The half-orc seems to kind of move in with a lot of strength, and that fight goes a lot differently than the fight with the halfling, or the full orc rather. He's very angry at the very beginning of the fight, and rushes in and starts swinging very strongly. But she seems to just be inches away from each of the blows, like just continually moving, striding, not really blocking, more just kind of deflecting and allowing the axe to grace off. But it doesn't seem she's aggressing. She's not moving quickly like she did with the halfling. And about a minute or so later, you see the orc get really tired and become kind of exhausted, and that's when she starts beating his ass like it was her job. Like she trips him, keeps him on the ground, ends up stabbing him in all different parts of his body, but it looks like lacerating cuts, not like direct deep dive like blade jabs, and is throughout the process yelling in his face in Orcish, "Yield! Yield!" And he's like, "No, never!" And then finally, like, "Oh, okay, as he's kind of like crawling away from her in like a pool of his own soup. And
That's how I thought that fight would go, almost, to be honest.
you see her kind of sheath her daggers, and as people are rushing up to medicate him, she reaches down and touches him, and you watch as she lays on hands that individual and resuscitates them before the medics do. Yeah, you watch a couple more fights with her, and each fight seems that her style shifts and her abilities change to reflect the opponent she's facing off against, and you're kind of like, oh, so this idea of trying to get an idea of what her fighting style is like is really dumb, because every time it changes, the only things that remain consistent is she's wielding daggers and she wins. Those are the only two things that are constant.
All I need to know.
I got this, girl. But yeah, at about the time, like, you're kind of looking at the roster and realizing that you're pretty far into it. It's going to be a couple more fights before you get to it. I would assume Shambles, Raya, and Grok would arrive on the scene. You're passing through their section and moving towards your kind of set.
Yeah, we'll be in the green room.
Alright. But you would see Brooklyn kind of waiting in the kind of bullpen area watching the fight for the standard gladiators.
Any luck?
Just point our noses up past him.
No, Grok would give him the two of his fingers would give him the V.
The guards that let you in would tell you those with jade necklaces have free reign to go anywhere they want that's not protected by a lordship, by a Kyrios' marker or a merchant lord's icon. And you can wait here in the general room with them as well. It's up to you if you want to. But yeah, you can also wait in your main hold. Your choice. A lot more freedoms than Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So
If we're gonna be here any longer, I'd use those to my advantage. I'm just gonna stay with Shambles.
okay. Shambles, do you want to go?
I have a room I gotta get to. Lock
Okay,
room.
okay. And Grok, are you staying with Shambles and Raya, or going?
No, Grok would go to keep Brooklyn company if he could. Wouldn't want him to be alone.
Yeah, you sit next to him.
We're cubed in all but chairs.
Yeah. Brooklyn, what would your kind of like stature be? Like, what face wise? Like, are you presenting yourself as kind of like concerned, or are you kind of more of a I got this kind of mentality? Are you still hyped?
I'd say I'm more in like mid thought process.
Okay.
Okay, maybe this will
Like
work.
you've been
or
there
yada, yada,
before,
yada.
man.
Yeah.
Show off those lightning
hard, dude.
scars.
Yeah, dude.
You're
That's
prob-
how you intimidate them. You just get naked. Nobody wants to fight a naked guy.
You're probably thinking to yourself, well, she can't fight me on my weaknesses. We'd have to have a cliff. I'll be okay.
She'll have to knock me off something. I don't see a bridge around here to be destroyed, so.
Perfectly fair. Shambles and Raya, you enter into your apartment, which has a pretty decent view from the ground level of the fight. Looks like they're taking an intermission. Not so much because of her being tired; she still stands out there, but more so because they're still working out the rosters. And it seems that someone being added into the rosters just recently has changed the next order of fights. You might guess that that's you, because you are lorded. Well,
Why are they doing that?
you have an icon. So,
I know.
yeah.
I was falsing outrage.
We can see them doing that.
Well, you can see that there's parties kind of in your area that are kind of talking, and then also there's a loud boisterous kind of dialogue outside. Does anyone want to forfeit their positions? This will make the process easier later, so we don't have to hold you to it. And Brooklyn, they're kind of, do you want to quit?
No, I'm good there.
Okay. Like annoyed. They don't know what to do. It's like they have a product that everyone wants, but it's so laborious to clean up afterwards.
The demand is higher than the supply.
Yeah, that's it. Well, she doesn't seem to think that's the case. She looks like she's still standing out there waiting for the next person to come. It seems that the Colosseum's
Maintain the facility.
right. It's more. It's being more
People have
difficult.
been working a long shift.
Correct.
I have a question. Could I cast a spell?
Yeah.
Does protection from energy have any kind of like a visual component to it, where it would be seen?
Kind of. Like if
Kinda.
the energy hits that person, then it's very noticeable. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. So if it hits if the person who's protected, then it would be noticed that they're magically
Yeah.
shielded from
But
it.
that's not illegal here.
Okay. That's not illegal here. No.
There's
I
no.
didn't know
You
that.
can
Okay,
you
so-
literally every single person you know in your life could cast every single buff spell on him before the fight. The point of the Colosseums is not about like. It's not a test of like true fighter between fighter. It's I'm gonna beat someone up. It's real. Like it would be like in a real
Like a
Colosseum.
street
They're not gonna call you a
Uh-huh.
cheater if you're using all advantages you can put into the combat. The only rules that are present
Okay.
are don't kill anybody unless it's a
Okay.
battle to the death, and sometimes those happen, just not here. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's question one. The second question is, can protection from energy stack with each other if I cast it multiple times on him? Can I protect him from multiple types of energy?
Protection from energy is a concentration spell, is it not?
Oh crud! It is a concentration spell. So
So
the
you can
answer
cast
is
it
no.
once. Yeah.
Okay.
But if
Yeah,
multiple parties do it, the main thing I want to point out too is that your placement and watching on the outside is too far away for you to be able to cast anything on them when they're in the combat.
No,
So
I
there-
would want to do it now.
Right. There's no side. You would know that there's no sideline fighting. You can't do sideline helping.
Right,
That's
right.
illegal.
I understand. So it lasts for an hour.
Okay.
I could.
Well,
cast
you'd
it
want to
on-
do it right when he's going on, not
Right.
Yeah.
So my plan is to, when he goes on, I'm going to cast it and give him protection to acid damage.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. And then inside of the Grok, or inside of the Raya Shambles room, any pre-game stuff that you want to do?
Outfitting him with some backup weapons. How long does it take to attune to something?
An hour.
Does it seem like he has that or no?
So him
Is
being lorded, he can fight her whenever he wants.
Yeah, I'm gonna head over to the grouping and we're sorry to have interrupted. And this is last minute fighter. Go ahead and put him in the bottom. He doesn't worry about it.
Seriously? We
Yeah.
just
Don't even worry about the brackets. Just leave it.
we just fucking set it up so he could go next. All right, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. Why couldn't you told us that at the door?
We didn't know. I just now saw you guys over here.
Okay, sorry. Whatever. I shouldn't be arguing with a
I make
lord.
sure. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say I make sure my dagger flashes out as I walk away.
I apologize.
You guys
Don't
have
worry,
a spare
no worries. I
sling
know.
laying around? Can I borrow
It's,
a sling?
David and Goliath kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know this is Mactic work. You guys are doing great. Keep it up.
Okay. Well, thank you for appreciating that. Not many lords do appreciate it. That's why we assumed you were just one of the regular run-of-the-mill assholes. Anyway, all right. See ya.
I know what you mean.
All
Do
right.
it different up in blue light.
They cut through the red tape on it, and they announce that the next fighter will be Rooklyn, knight errant of the town of Banser, and you can see her kind of like finally as she kind of pulls her daggers back out of their sheaths and kind of gets ready for you to exit out onto the Coliseum. If there's any pregame stuff that you want to do,
And I hit him with the spell.
mention it now. Yeah. So protection from elements, acid. Is there anything that you want to do to your
Energy with acid.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to do to yourself, Brooklyn, before you enter into the Coliseum?
Yeah, right before I enter, I'll shield of faith myself.
Okay, perfect. That being notated, we're going to go ahead and switch back to Benson. Benson. With 15 minutes left, I hope I can stall long enough so that the start of the fight happens next session. You head into the father's study. Inside, you see a very lavish grouping of books, and Seroth kind of gestures explaining what he understands each to be. The main thing for you that you notice is that in the center of the study, engraved on the ground, is a teleportation circle. It doesn't seem that Seroth knows that that's what that is, or has any understanding of what that is, but you recognize it immediately.
I would explain it to him openly. It would be a very shocking kind of oh my, this was not known of.
He says, "Interesting. Yes. Well, Father used to travel about the country very quickly, so I assume that must be what he was using to do it.
It is one of the fastest horses you can get.
It is well outside of my power to be able to utilize it, but if it's of importance to you, great. Please feel free to use it at your pleasure."
Copy it down.
You kind of look to the rest of the study and can see that there's a lot of books that appear to be identical. And there also appears to be a section in the study that looks like it is kind of a series of drafts. And you kind of go over to it and you just kind of give it a quick perusal. And from what you can see, there appears to be architectural drawings of the campus proper that you're sitting on that appears to be him having prepared to receive students for teaching. And it appears that he was turning his manor and his estate into a kind of study, like a place where you could come to reflect and study the arcane arts. And you're kind of looking at this as like, huh.
Great minds think alike.
And you notice that those books that I mentioned, that are all pretty much identical, are notated in his notes as being the beginner's study book. And you go to the book and you open it up, and it appears that there are the most basic two cantrips: prestidigitation and light, and then a number of first level spells present inside of the book, already prepared. Each one identical, each one prepared to be received and bonded to a new wizard. The most basic spells: detect magic, comprehend languages, magic missile, the stereotypical six.
Right. I see that you're a little ahead of me here, my friend.
Am I? And he kind of looks to the notes. I haven't really dealt with much of the notes. just the ones that were fashioned for me. And he kind of holds out a piece of paper. Um, my father didn't want me to enter into his study too often, and I've kept to the sources that he's allowed me access to. But he told me that if anyone was endeavoring to pass on knowledge, not to keep it, but to allow it to be spread freely.
This is actually how I feel about this as well. This is the dream of the school. So, I have a question. Our school is not ready yet, and I believe that it'll take a little bit of time. I have a couple, or at least one, maybe two, students that I feel would be very beneficial to start sooner than later. Would you mind if I sent them here and maybe started here and until I am ready to have them at the school that I am trying to start?
Well, I think after you've explained to me what this circle means, it could be the case that our campus doesn't have to really be in one position.
Right. But it's just like a schoolhouse. You want a room for the beginners and then through the advances. So I think that this might be a good place to start.
As you know, Father was a grand abjurationist, and the magics that I have been studying are more transmutal. I could definitely agree with you that a shifting might be required for your early access students, the ones that bought the game in a cheaper, unprepared, unreadied format to play the game because it looked dope. Sorry, I said early access and my brain immediately went to like early access video games. I apologize for segueing into a dumb, stupid statement. Cutting back to where I was. If they want to come and take lessons from me, do you have any other teachers prepared for school?
I'm talking to Jerry. Jerry.
The lighthouse keeper?
Yeah. Jerry's a good old boy.
A well-known guy.
Well, it's just north of Benish, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's in the hood. I was going to the Capitol to speak with some of the higher ups about some possible help as well.
Interesting. Well, if Jerry is happy to come and teach here, I'd follow his lead in it. I do some, like I said, I do know magics that are of a transmutational nature, and I might be able to learn some things from Jerry. I know that he's more of a generalist, from what I recall, and is focused more on. I'm surprised to say that you're actually saying he's going to be teaching for your school.
When we're all starting, all of us are generalists. We're just getting started. You have many abilities that I don't feel that you are giving yourself enough credit for. I believe that you could also very much help in this as well.
Understandable. I just mean to say, Jerry has always seemed like a hermit from what I recall. He doesn't receive guests very often either. That's all I was meaning to say. No.
He understands the need, though. That's the hardest part. He understands the need, and he has a heart to give. And I mean, he's brought people out of their shells more than once, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I say you are right, and it's great that he understands it. It's been 100 years since any real magic has flowed through Osiria, and unfortunately the magic that flowed during the age of the Civil War was strictured by laws outside of our country. So, I do agree, there is a need for this, and I hope I can rise to the occasion. He nods his head. Absolutely, the school can be held here until your school in Bluegate is prepared.
Fantastic. Well, now for the most important part of this trip, I need a little bit of a sample pack of that tea of yours. I would be very happy to pay handsomely. And he holds out two gold pieces and kind of shakes them together and says, "This, my sir, is for you, and give me some of your best tea for the road, something that will actually keep for me, if you don't mind."
I will make sure that Nico prepares you the finest. And yeah, if you want to, you can spend some time in here. There is more than just basic mode stuff if you
Oh,
want
why
to.
they're why they're making stuff, I'm going to spend as much time as I can here. Why they're
I,
fighting.
I'm genuinely trying to stall for 8 minutes so that we can start next session with the fighting.
What kind of stuff do they have in here, John?
Well,
Figure it
let
out.
let me explain to you the things that you can find here. As he said, his father was an abjurationist. That means he was focused in defensive magics. If you go into his personal materials, you will find some spells. Any first level, second level, or third level spell of the Abjuration School that you can find inside of the compendium is here. It will cost you money or residuum to transfer stuff over, but the tomes that you're transferring them from are teachers' books. What that means is they can be copied indefinitely. So you can use those books indefinitely to transfer them over. If you scroll rip, then you're ruining a very expensive magical tome.
No, we're not doing that.
Don't do it. Just don't do it.
I'd love just for him to, like, first day, one of the new students doesn't understand, just rips all the pages out of one of the books.
YOLO! Then you would find in the fourth level category the spells. I believe you would find Morden Kanan's Private Sanctum and Stone Skin and Freedom of Movement. In the fifth level category, you would find the spells. I believe you're looking at no. Planar Binding. That's it. And sixth level. Sorry, it goes up a bit. His father was a pretty high level caster. Globe of Invulnerability. And Guards and Wards?
Was that one?
Guards and Wards. For 7th level? Which again, you can't cast yet, right?
Oh.
Okay. Still, you can transfer them into your spellbook. You just cannot utilize them
Right.
until you're capable.
That's fine.
And it'll cost time and money for you to do so.
Yeah, I got the residuum.
Yeah, I know, you're sitting on a bunch.
Yep.
Symbol. Which is a fun one. One of my favorite spells. And for 8th level, which is the highest level he had, Anti-Magic Field. And as I mentioned, these spell books, if you were to copy the spells out of them and put them into other books, it would not destroy the book.
Right. That's why I'm okay copying all those and paying for them, whatever. I'm only going the higher ones. I might try to copy them twice so I can do a rip if needed.
So,
Or it isn't like that.
so if you were to create a scroll, which is a separate
Same.
matter, you could do so from this book. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfectly acceptable. You cannot create a scroll of a spell you cannot cast. So you cannot copy an anti-magic field into a scroll because you cannot cast that spell.
Okay. So
Yeah.
then never. Okay, I'm just gonna copy them on my book then.
Right. If you were creating scrolls, it has to be scrolls that you can cast.
Great.
I fundamentally respect the fact of you trying to get the advantages, but understandably, no. Perfectly good. That said,
How many of the original How many of the level ones?
every abjuration spell of first, second, or third level is in the book.
Okay, so I just have to pick them and say, hey, this is what I want, and then you're gonna charge me.
Yeah, charge you and time slot you. And that's
All right.
when I say every abjuration spell in those, I mean Player's Handbook, Xanathar's, Tasha's, my DM's books, all of those are here.
Cool.
It's a very vast library of protection magic. And yeah, the transmutation spells that are present are not going to be really important. There's stuff you have like Enlarge, I think, is when you got stuff like that. Okay, great. So next session we'll be picking up with Brooklyn getting his ass beat or winning the day. We'll see.
Save me a trip.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
I meant to ask about the woman. Now that I'm actually there and I'm able to see her out on the arena.
You don't recognize her?
Nothing.
No.
Okay. Wanted to be sure.
Anything that leads us to believe one thing or another about her from her fighting style, the ability to use lay on hands?
No, because she keeps on switching her capabilities each time she fights. Yeah, if you watch her through the next... Well, you're going to have to watch her through Brooklyn, because that's the next fight for you guys, so you wouldn't have seen shit. Brooklyn would have seen her use lay on hands, but would have also seen her do, like, crazy monk shit, and then also seen her do crazy rogue shit.
So she's multi-class a handful of times.
Or something.
I would say she probably has a magic item or something that lets her use the abilities of other classes.
She's definitely weird.
Or she's a god.
Could be, who knows? If she was a god, we'd have Grey Order here beating the shit out of her. So it'd be a very different fight completely. But yeah, that's where we're gonna...
I need to catch up with those guys anyway.
Yeah.
We have met more than one god already, so.
That's how you get into the Grey Order. This is how.
I'm looking at a lot of opportunities here.
That said,
A lot of roads in the future.
that said, this is where we're gonna go ahead and end this session. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for Brent not falling off a cliff.
Do we?
For the first time
Or-
in a fight ever.
Or maybe.
Next week is Easter.
He destroyed.
Oh, next week is Easter. Sorry, we'll figure out. It's either next week or the week following. All right, thanks.